Welcome to our lovely future humans, our 5D collective, moving into 7th dimension, and to those who are new, we're the ones who are doing the somatic and mindset micro habit, not only practices, but also intentional living the right way. And that's because you got it. You got it. We haven't lost ourselves, or some will have gone to regain themselves. And so stick around. But number one, you want to know, be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire. Not in a bad way. Heat, I'm sure you don't want anyways. That's Saint Catherine de Siena. Number two, as she points out, all my limbs are bound by the feelings of love. And that, in both equations, make me think of our lovely, restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating. And so when you have the integrated brain and you have the securely attached embodied self, we're talking about our empowering journeys, not our healing journeys. And the healers that are actually healed understand why we have the orphans still around, and with their masks, they are actively faking it. Now, those who are on Spotify, you might not be seeing me, you might just be hearing me, so you won't be able to see the oracle cards, but that's something that I can't do anything about, and on the other podcast platforms. But in the meantime, as someone who provides those who do personal growth, spiritual growth, the conscious leaders with practices on the PayHip store, mentorship, guidance, I want you to know that it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be mine? Will you be mine? So our 3-year-olds, they come out to play, which is why it's not a terrible 2s or a terrible 3s. And that's how easy it is for me to share with you. This voice has not ever been silenced in a way of me actually not knowing who Maria is. And so unconditionally loving with flaws and imperfections. I know that imperfections can be considered gifts like Claire's, but I just say you be you and I be me. And so when you're noticing that people are looking into reset loops, I understood why on the lovely channels that I have. Okay, so let's talk about doing somatic mindset micro habits the right way and without losing yourself. So as I was saying, going beyond a repetitive reset requires the capacity to grow yourself. That's personally and spiritually for those of you who are spiritual. And that's from a steady, empowered baseline. So you know how to autonomously self-regulate. And so leaders, they're typically driven, the love-based leaders, because there's fear-based leaders. That's for the masked ones. They don't go to therapy and they don't transform. Or if they transform, they say, I want to, I want them now. And they hang out with the ones who are faking it, but they will spend millions on them and say, no, they work. And you'll just say, okay. So going beyond a repetitive reset, the real way, it requires that you have that capacity to grow yourself. So with self-awareness and accountability and regulation, you maintain that core somatic mindset micro habit, and so your ventral vagal state baseline for a level 2 subsomatic mindset micro habit moment, like the earthquake that I got to go through. That's a 5 to 60 second, and so you're able to know, oh, the earthquake happened, I breathed it while it was happening, and then knowing that my body's gonna unfold with all of the charges and whatever else is gonna come out, somatic stuff, okay, but not projecting it. So leaders are driven to go beyond a reset practice, which is why people are looking for, how do I get out of this reset loop? Number one, you be yourself. Number two, you are being yourself because you're a whole self. Your child parts have the grown-up you. You use a prefrontal cortex. Okay, so that's staying true to yourself, securely attached, steady self-image. There's no enmeshing. There's no fear of somatic countertransference. There's no spiritual bypassers. They're bountiful of, if I walk in a room, then I have to go away. It's called you differentiate and you link, and that's because in the present, I got it explained by Dr. Daniel Siegel how it works, and I also got it told to differentiate more. So yeah, you learn to become at ease with picking up on 1, 2, 3, depend the entire globe. Technically, Tara Brach informed me about that one. So it's not the twin flame, it's not the 5 waves of twin flames that broke the matrix. Oh, spiritual bypassers, they love their stories. Just remember Peter Pan and the Lost Boys. Let's have fun with their adventures. Okay, so leaders who are embodying themselves, they go and with the practices, with journaling, with your relationships, with any kind of life event, you'll make use of it in a meaningful way because you're mindfully aware And with the mindset skills, you're able to sift the sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts, and you're able to wield that which is your lovely mind, the four facets of the mind: the subjective experience, the self-organization, the information processing, and the consciousness. And so our conscious leaders practice, aka restored embodiment, self-awareness, accountability, regulation, responsibility, and then we continue to co-regulate. So from this autonomous self-regulation ability in moments of pressure, again, that steady ventral baseline is maintained, while when you have a narrowed window of tolerance, you're still going to consciously be aware, and you are in both equations navigating the thoughts. Peter Levine gave a really good example with hopelessness, and he called it a CBT type exercise. But he said, instead of thinking, I know things won't change, you say, I am having thoughts, or I'm thinking the thought that nothing will change. And this seems silly to people who don't understand why it's not silly. The mind, the left, likes logic. When you're working with the right and the left, telling yourself what actually is the deal will make a difference for the body. And so if I think of the word life is hard and I actively feel it that way too, I just double down. If I can talk, the thought that life is hard is coming from the fact that I lead an entire day with a specific number of things I don't want to do, there is a difference. Those who find this practice ridiculous, they don't care to get out of the survival defensive loop. So they're going to continue to, with their energy, use sentences that don't support them to lighten their own load. And so again, but you need to autonomously self-regulate, which, by the way, some people don't know how to do, and they won't spot the difference. They're the same ones who reject us. So they say we are not here, intelligent sentient beings. I notice their masks, and that's why I know that they're not real leaders. They play to crowd though. Okay, so from their autonomous self-regulation ability, in moments of pressure, we get to put into practice the thinking that then supports our emotional plane with anger, sadness, fear, disgust, surprise, and happiness. You work with those. We have some in our paid podcast subscriber episodes. We had our three, there were 5-minute, 10, and 15-minute exercise. This was before we had the pay-up store. I'll have to see if I can make you a PDF purchasable one-day guide from that one. But yeah, in the paid content, there's a practice for anger. So real leadership wants, they desire not only to be around empowered people, but they desire to empower and expand the level of authenticity that comes forth. So you enjoy bringing who you are into the table and into the room. And even if you have a faker, you're not going to hide. You just know, okay, they're faking it. I'm not. That's it. And you leave it alone, because there's plenty of people I know online are speaking about these things, but I personally don't go to people and be like, you know what, your attitude, and you need to fix that. Of course I can spot things, but and if they ask me something, because people talk to each other, then I'll point out certain aspects for their own sake. But if they don't want to do anything about it, it's not like, oh my god. So we choose to have our authenticity increase, our discernment increase, because mental clarity comes with the capacity to notice your effective realism, not distort. You notice your emotional charges, you don't use them. Okay, so discernment increases, the level of intelligence increases, and your relational integrity, which is why those two levels of compassion that Dalai Lama talks about, when I mentioned, I'm like, I don't have an enemy. Yes, I see the world, but there's no enemies. Also, as a spiritual one, God always wins, but also there's no enemies. We'll talk about that one. We might have an extended later, but another one for spiritual mystic stories. In the meantime, I'm trying to stay on track. So fake leadership. They don't do somatic mindset micro habits the right way. They perform what is a circus act because they stay in their survival defensive mode. They even implement active exercises that puts you in it. And so from that minimum energy mode, they're acting like they are badass, but you will know they're not, because they're not empowered in their ventral vagal state. No, their 3-year-old isn't anywhere near, and the no that comes out of their mouth is that of the only small energy they had to defend themselves as children, which is a sad story. So unhealthy self-righteousness and grandiosity is what can come through to that. There's your survival defensive mode. There's your 16-year-olds. There's your clowns. So while they will perpetuate the reset loops, and in fact, these fake leaders, they actually buy from each other that which are transformational workshops, the spiritual ascension retreats, the growth practices that are going to transform your lives. They pay millions and thousands to each other, and I spot every single bit of all of them. Some will want to call them out as charlatans, and I will say, you trying to call them out as charlatans isn't going to get you anywhere, because the people who are letting themselves be treated the way that I've spotted these human beings in their fancy suits and their perfect articulation, I'm not joking with you all. I'm like, wow, that makes me think of high school when I saw people letting people yell them in the face and say, that's going to make me into a man and a woman. And I'm like, no, it won't. It'll just make you into their puppet. But hey, you have fun being a puppet. Then I got to college and I'm like, wow, fraternity, what? Sorority. You think it's cool that they, again, treat you like little pieces of shit. It's fascinating. You know, I never thought that so many people could lack confidence to the extent of letting other people do this shit to them. Wow, that's amazing. This is how I feel when I still see people groveling at the feet of people who are not actually treating them in any amazing way, and I don't see them improving. Their articulation can be fabulous. Oh, they can speak a million ways better than I can. Meantime, I'm like, you have a weak body. So sorry, I didn't mean it. Your window tolerance, yeah, I don't think you can handle any of that. Which, are you playing to the crowd? Hold on, I'm getting funny again. Let me finish before I lose anybody, because I have a movie that I'm going to bring to you in a minute, and then I'm going to have a trick question. It's not a trick question for you guys, or gals, or theys. Okay, so fake leaders perform a circus act, and in their survival defensive mode, they spend millions on each other, thousands. They create these networks. You see them hanging around, and they're all like, ah, and you're like, they all don't know anything about eustress yet. But then again, they don't want the regulated intensity and sensitivity. I remember there's a coach and more that says that secure attachment and ventral vagal is boring to them. That's because they haven't gotten to the flow state yet, though. And that's because they're still using yucky brain stuff, the ruminating. Yeah, the dark sides of neuroplasticity don't do fun for anyone. But let me leave that alone. So as they perpetuate their reset loops, we don't. The conscious self-led person and leader will allow themselves to use the infinite higher human consciousness potential somatic mindset loop, because you're using two sides of the brain, because your body, and so sensations, images, behaviors, affects, meanings are not dangerous. Your thoughts are thoughts, so you're not thoughts, you're not emotions, but you are your thought. You know, you don't have to create a whole philosophy. So you know, the left speaks. There's a book, the left brain speaks, the right brain laughs. So when you think of it, the left will always be speaking and the right will be feeling, the best way I can bring it to you. And so here's where what goes up doesn't come back down, and what goes sideways doesn't have to affect, but you're harmonizing it. And so that's the fun of being yourself. So you don't lose yourself with somatic mindset, micro habits done right. You're going to be more of yourself, and a true leader will want more of their authentic self, and they won't hide it away. They won't expect others to have to take off the mask, because we understand the masked one was unseen and unheard, unsoothed, unsafe, unsecure, and their shadow work is what they're playing in their relationships, on a screen, and wherever it may be. They don't know who they are yet. We do. So we don't play to a crowd and behave in the way of bad-mannered human beings who were treated in those same bad manners. This regulation is not to be copied by anyone who's an embodied leader. As for the faking it, they will spend millions, and as they do, self-loathing, gut-wrench, torn apart stays in here. And they will continue to be divisive if they want, and we will leave it alone. So by us maintaining our own empowered stance and not dysregulating, you self-regulate, and then you're going to continue with differentiation and linkage being in a room. So we don't perpetuate a loop that is one that involves us being defensive, but instead we ascend. And that's with all the emotions, which is why people think you can't be happy all the time. When you're smiling all the time, you're like, yes, I can. But no, there's happiness and sadness and you know, all the emotions. And grief doesn't get put on a pedestal. Depression, nope, nothing gets on a pedestal. No emotion, they're all the same, all on the floor, right here. Oh, it's not the pain that has to come around to make us grow. We automatically have pain because it's a scary world out there. I mean, my 1-year-old's still scared shitless. So I'm just saying, like, being human, my actual human secondary consciousness, it's just not a dilemma, you know? So my thoughts are thoughts and my feelings are feelings, and I, Maria, know that the conscious self-led leader perpetuates an infinite higher human consciousness somatic mindset loop. And that expands the mind to more knowledge and the heart to have more compassion, if there can be more. And we are moving in the seventh dimension after all, mystics, remember. And the overall stance of an equanimous, discerning, loving leader comes forth, which is why we teach, guide, and support, like I do with the PayHip store, with my mentorship, and in environments where we are also all together for others, and you do it how you do it, how to do the same. And that's for leading into the future, and the generations that follow also they will learn how to also do what we do, which is why thankfully science is on board. And again, the right way is with love. There's a lovely physicist, Thomas Campbell, as he proves, love wins. So by maintaining empowered composure, we provide the co-regulating capacity the room needs to stay on track with things, the mutual respect every person deserves, to be seen, soothed, safe, and secure, to be themselves, and the capacity to maintain the necessary order for everything to keep functioning at its best, while also knowing the best doesn't mean perfect or in the absence of imperfections and mistakes, as that's the whole point of what a leader also knows. And so while the fake leaders don't actively use healthy fear, we use healthy fear and common sense. And that's why we also know about effective realism and do our best to not distort. And we always have our own checks and balances, people who keep us grounded in humility, our spiritual also guides, and the lovely, for me, God, and Jesus, high five, Buddha, come on, ascended masters, you're all back here too. Okay, so with personal growth, it's also straightforward. You have a good circle of loved ones, and they help, and we are here for you too. Okay, so we have that capacity to know things are going to keep moving forward as long as that asteroid doesn't hit. Be yourself the smart way, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. Choose the micro habit of being authentically and vulnerably you, with the wisdom of the mind and heart conjoined. And so whether it's rejection, abandonment, humiliation, injustice, or betrayal, whether it's an activated state for a work environment, for something, that smart micro habit frameworks, the ones for the free PDF, the 10-minute one, and then the one-day guide are there for those of you who are doing that which you do best. The regulated leader, it's a lovely guide, as well as your sovereign blueprint, and there's the accessible guide, so you can check out PayHip. For two of the three guides, there's an executive summary. And we'll be back with some more soon enough, maybe in a little bit, with some cards and tarot and messages for the ones of you who enjoy that. And in the meantime, let anyone that you do know is a person who navigates their survival defensive loop to get out of it about IHP, because being a conscious leader is not only an empowering and enlightening journey, but it's also something you want more of, right? I mean, aren't you tired of seeing the powwow, the fake ones online? I know I am. So I'm trying to say, okay, let's respect insecure people, but let's hang out. Join us on Substack. That way we can talk about this beautiful, no fear of somatic countertransference, no fear of spiritual energy vampires, but there are experiences that I want to talk about. And so I'm going to continue, as always, to bring you spiritual, personal, all the growth of the world, and to be that which is you be you and I be me. So I support those who do love to be themselves authentically, and the ones who regain themselves. Thank you so much for doing that. It's an honor to meet the real you. Hopefully we'll have more of those who want to meet the real them, and that way we can talk about how their journey to becoming whole went, and they can tell us how fun it is to hang around with those of us who, where are they? Hold on. Well, we'll have to wait, but there was a beautiful batch of cards that I wanted to share. Here they are. This is our divine empowered feminine, our lovely body. So you speak your truth as a cosmic flower. Sometimes some people don't like it, but that's okay, because things happen. Actually, here's where prosperity in the divine masculine. When you have a prosperous mind, the left and the right, then it's going to have a good time. If it's not prosperous, unfortunately, it doesn't enjoy transitions. So again, somatic mindset micro-habit practices done the right way are because you are an unconditionally loving, with your own flaws and imperfections, person, and with yourself you welcome all selves, and we don't make anyone who doesn't want to be themselves to be themselves. We respect that they will be like my big man baby facade friend, who I'm like, when did you learn how to pretend to be this? And he's like, no, but this is who I am. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, I'm gonna go now. So anyways, have a good one.